Hello there. Yes, I'm making this and I'm being a little bit of a jerk while I'm making this. But November 18th of this year, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet releases, and I'm going to be doing a 24-hour stream, and I would like to see you all there. That's right, November 18th. That's a Friday, 24-hour stream. I will be doing it, and I will be having fun. So come on by, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, do all that stuff, and yeah, we'll have fun. What's going on, everybody? This is Dermy Wormy. I'm coming at you with another episode of the G Gundam reviews. That's right. This is episode 9, I want to say. Let me think. Boo, 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 boo. Yeah, 9. I had to do quick math. It's a little late. I'm recording this late, so cut me a little slack. But well, this is an episode of A Return of George, but he's not in it for very much. Pompous prick from France. But it is a unique episode, nonetheless. And watching these episodes back, I forget how every episode, some of them tend to become, Gundam of the Week. Or you know how it is, like Pokemon of the Week, Monster of the Week, something like that. But there is a narrative structure to these stories. And every episode has a unique lesson, or a unique message that it's saying, or a unique question that it ponders to you. You can tell shortly after a lot of the establishing episodes, other than it introducing you to your main characters. After that, it starts asking deeper questions, maybe some deeper life questions, and maybe something more ponderous of yourself that you question yourself. Asked a lot of questions there. Anyways, but you go to episode 7, where you had the Mexican brother and sister, whose names I cannot remember, Chico and I can't remember her name, but you had that story, and it was the story of of a boy wanting to give his sister their final wish of getting to see the ocean together, and what would you do for that family member. You have episode 8 dealing with a man from Canada wanting to basically kill Argo because he thought he killed his wife, and then the realization that Argo didn't kill his wife and actually wanted to save everybody, and that the whole situation was an accident and not on purpose. And how do you reconcile with that? Like, how do you end up reconciling with that? This episode is more of a, I don't want to say it's quite a coming of age story, but it's the young versus the old, and the ideas of a warrior and what life is like as a champion, and how would a champion want to go out in the end. And does have an idea of honor. As much as I find George to be a pompous prick, this episode does deal with honor in a unique way. So why don't we get into it? This episode takes place in jolly old London, over in the UK, Britannia, the Brits, home to the wonderful Disparu Uwu, and nobody else super important. Yep, nobody else. Oh wait, no, technically the Critical Drinker and Mauler are from there. Yep, nobody else important lives over in Britannia. But our But we open in Britannia. It's beautiful. I keep calling it Britannia. I've watched too much Fate Zero. Britain, London, and we get this nice shot of a hand-drawn. Oh, it's so beautiful. Big Ben, surrounded by fog. And shortly thereafter, you get this shot of George mid-fight. And he keeps knocking down what you think is his opponent. Technically, it is his opponent, but it's not the Gundam he wants to blow up. They're nothing but essentially drones or unarmed mobile suits from what I remember. And he's getting frustrated because he understands that this is cheating. It's not fair. And then he starts getting shot from behind. He turns around to see that is his opponent this time. Britain's Gundam is right there. And as you can see, has George basically dead to rights. Finish him off. Just about to. And George says, is this really how you want to fight? Is this really how an honorable man wishes to win? And the man says, any last words, essentially. And just smiles, and you get this shot. Like gunfire. And you're led to believe that it's it. That is it. George is out of the competition. And you get this shot of Domon hopping into the casino as you hear this weird, kind of like not a train horn, a foghorn, that's what they're called. When you hear this foghorn in the distance, and Domon comments on it and says, I hate that sound, as he walks into the casino. We then get our narrator for today asking how does everything play out today, and we find ourselves in London with our opponent of today, Royal Gundam, piloted by the Gentle Chapman, a three-time Gundam Fight Tournament champion. And then it asks the usual question, but also this Gundam, I don't like the hat part. I get what it's trying to represent, the Royal Guard. In this episode we see versions of the Royal Gundam without that, and I kind of like it without it. It still looks funny just with the hat, but I like it without it. But I do like a lot of the look of Royal Gundam. Then you get and here's our Gentle Chapman, our legacy warrior, our Silver Fox, as some people would call him. Not me. And then we get the usual question. How will all this play into the Dark Gundam? Gundam fight set, ready, go. And our answer was, I want to say honorable match, Gentle Chapman. Or Gentle Chapman in the honorable match. So, our episode then continues. And we find Chapman inside the casino just winning away while he plays hands of poker. Domon comes up and says, hey, I want to fight. Well, first off, he says, hey, have you seen the man in the picture? And he shows Chapman the picture. Chapman kind of snubs him off, says, hey, I'm in the middle of something here. Let me entertain this. And then Domon says, fine, I'll play you as well. So, they agree. Game starts. And our lovely dealer pulls open a brand new package, as you are supposed to, in order to make sure that you're not cheating. They all get our hands, and we see as Domon has three of hearts. The match goes. Domon plays his 3 of hearts. And if I can get the shot, it is revealed that Chapman has a full house. Everybody's shocked. And also, I should have mentioned, the rules of this match is if Domon wins, he gets a match. If Chapman wins, he just leaves. Domon doesn't want the money, he just wants the match. So, Chapman technically wins, but Domon notices something. As he's congratulating him, he then reaches for the dealer's hand, revealing that she's cheating. Inherently cheating. Just dealing out extra cards and assisting Chapman. Now, I'm going to try to get a good shot of this. Remember this dealer. This dealer is actually, and we find out later, and they don't, you're led, they show you and they don't tell you. The dealer is Chapman's wife. And looking back at this after just completing this episode, they have a history of cheating. But because Domon has hands on the wife, Champion, all of his men draw guns on Domon. As Domon's pointing out that she's cheating, you then get Rain hopping in, calling for Domon. Is shocked that he's there, and then gets surrounded by guns herself, and she's a little shocked that now she has guns, and oh my god. I gotta say, not always the best drawings, but you gotta take what you get, and I love it all the more. Chapman notices everything and takes note of Domon's sharp eyes and starts laughing and decides to set him up for the night. In his own little, I want to say this was his casino. They don't say it, and they don't really tell you where he goes, but he goes someplace that has a lot of Chapman memorabilia all over the place. Because he's a 3-time champion. Obviously, he's going to have, people are going to like him. So they get set up in this house, in this room, and they're introduced to, if I can get it, a portrait. And to be honest, I kind of like this look of the Royal Gundam better versus the full-on hat. I don't know why. Just like it a little bit better. And you get a shot of Chapman when he was younger with his wife. If I can do this just with his wife, as they were great, as he was a great champion at the time. And Domon and Rain admire it, and Rain makes note of, I guess this is what it's like being a champion, and Domon's gazing up at it, and she says, well, I hope you never get this way. You know, I hope you never get gaudy, and Domon kind of looks embarrassed. Or something along those lines. Basically, Domon gets embarrassed. And I don't have this shot, but Domon kind of looks jealous. Well, no, embarrassed. Somebody is then brought into the room, and I can't, well, there's the embarrassed look. They then have somebody getting ushered into the room, and it's George all banged up. Rain quickly attends to George's wounds, and while doing so, George tells him about the fight that they had. And he says, it was odd. Chapman, this is no longer our honorable Chapman. You know, as a knight, Chapman once was this revered hero, a man that a knight myself should basically view renowned and think of as amazing. But in the middle of the fight, as the fight was starting, a fog came in, and we started seeing, if I can get it, the drones came out. And they had a specific word, but I'm calling them drones because they were an army of essentially not Royal Gundam. And Chapman was using those along with Fog to essentially cheat. But George continues and says when Chapman had him basically dead to rights, gun aimed directly at his head. This is a marksman by you. Chapman is a marksman, trained gunsman, champion. Something weird happened, if I can get it. And he grazes Rose Gundam. Point blank range, and just grazes Rose Gundam. And in that moment, George starts hinting that there's something wrong with Chapman. He doesn't know what it is. And as he's about to give us maybe a hint of what it is, Domon says, I don't believe you. I need to see this for myself. And he really wants to fight Chapman. Don't fully blame him because, well, we've established this. Sorry, I had an itch. Domon, a lot of the times all he cares about is fighting. But we then cut to just outside Chapman's house. And Chapman, I want to say if I can get the shot just right. Chapman wakes up, gasping, struggling to breathe, starting to have issues. And his wife reaches into this little box and pulls out a pill for him. He quickly takes it. And this is when we get a shot that the dealer was his wife. Granted, it's dark in the room right now, but once she opens up the curtains, it's that red hair. And she tells Chapman, hey, you need to ease up. You're becoming reliant on this medicine. And Chapman says, I know. When it's all over, but I'll quit. When the fighting's all done, I'll quit. And he's talking about how, he mentions how, all these battles, it wanes on your body. Fights after fights, it begins to wane. And, see, here's your lovely red hair. Oh, I forgot to mention something. George also said one thing about, this comes up a little bit later. George mentions to Domon that Chapman is becoming more beast-like in battles. And that is actually important. I did forget that. But back to this part. Chapman tells his wife, hey, you know what? Once this is all said and done, why don't we go to Mars? I hear it's warm this time. It's starting to warm up over there. And she likes that idea. And she comes back and asks Chapman about Domon and says, why don't we invite him over for tea this afternoon? Tea and crumpets. The lovely land of the lovely Britain. Once renowned for Doctor Who, but now it has Disparu. It has Sargon of Akkad. It has our wonderful, I believe Count Dankula is from there. I believe. Don't quote me on that part. But nobody else important. Nobody else. And Chapman asks her, why do you want to bring him over? Like, what you're fond of him, huh? What is it? And she says, well, I think it has something to do with the fact that, I think that's my monitor, that he has the same eyes you once had, and that you still have. Sharp, cold, straight to the point. The eyes of a warrior. And he says, you've really come in fond of that boy, and he basically agrees to do it. So Domon and Yeah, that was just the picture. So Domon and Rain head over. Rain asks him, do you think this is a good idea? And Domon says, yeah, why not? I want to battle him. Why don't we check the guy out? Couldn't hurt. They then see these weird phallic-shaped things outside Chapman's house. And there's a lot of them. If I can get the shot just right. I might not be able to. See, there's a lot, and it's very phallic shape. But they pull up to the house. They're served the tea. Rain takes note of the smell. Notes that Domon's not taking any. Domon says, well, I'm not really that fond, not really wanting to drink any. And his wife, who has a weird name, it's like Manon, like a French name, Manon. I think it's Manon. Manon says, well, this tea's from Wales. Maybe I should have had green tea. And Domon lets on that he really just wants to fight. And Chapman tells him, hey, calm down. We'll fight in due time. And Domon doesn't like that. And spills his tea. And then Chapman, if I get the shot just right, begins telling Domon about how you basically need to respect your elders because they know more than you. And are you sure you're prepared to be a warrior and to live life like a warrior? And if I can get that shot just right. And he takes one of those pills, cracks it open, and pours it into his tea. And Rain takes note of that pill and what he did. And Chapman continues to say that the life of a warrior isn't fair, it isn't kind, it is grueling, and your life it's hard. And are you truly prepared for that? And Domon's becoming impatient. And Chapman's continuing to berate Domon, and Domon bolts up, ready to fight, and Rain says, oh, calm down, Domon. Oh, hey, can I use the bathroom? Because I need to powder my nose. She pretends to fall and quickly grabs the pill from the table. And that's a hard shot to get, so I'm not going to try. Well, I might be able to get it. Let's try it. See, she grabs it. And as she grabs it, Manon takes note of it. Manon then tells her where it is, where the bathroom is. Rain goes, and then Manon looks to a handler and has the handler go after her. Chapman. Why did I say George? Chapman continues to tell Domon that he needs to calm down and quit wasting his time with fights and, think it's brutal, it's not worth it. Are you sure? And continues on with the warrior narrative, the battle narrative, the champion narrative, and the respect thy elders narrative. And Domon basically then says, well, I'd respect my elder, essentially, if he was an honorable fighter. And hearing that phrase ticks off Chapman a lot, and he bolts up and pulls a gun on Domon. And we then get our midpoint. And that's an interesting moment. Again, I'm doing this directly after I watched the episode. And that gives us a hint, now that I'm thinking about it, of Chapman. Chapman, again, he views himself as being very honorable, but something comes up that shows that he's not honorable. Well, we're led to believe that he knows that he's not honorable and he's cheating, and that strikes a nerve. He wants to be remembered as an honorable fighter, this champion amongst men, this hero. As we come back, and this is dumb, but Rain licks the liquid that was inside the pill and says, "It's a mental stimulant." How do you know that? Just by licking it? I don't know. Rain then continues to snoop around and finds a door open, and inside is all the drone soldiers. And as Rain's about to leave, she gets punched in the gut and knocked out. We then cut back to Chapman and Domon, and Chapman begins telling Domon, hey, there's more to life than just fighting. There's more to everything than just fighting and being a warrior. And there's things that are more valuable and important. And to Domon then says, not to me. Kid you not. And Chapman basically says, you're willing to throw away your life just for a fight. Domon then eggs him on to shoot him. And in that moment, we start seeing that the medicine that Chapman already took is starting to fail. So, as we see this progression through Chapman, we start off with George. He was unable to see anymore. Move forward. His wife says, hey, you're becoming reliant on these pills. Move forward. He takes another pill. We keep seeing him. Obviously, the medicine's not working the way it's supposed to, and he's taking more and more and more and becoming to the point that he's desperate for this medicine to help him. When in reality, he needs to stop. He then collapses, unable to fight. Manon tells him to just sit down and relax, and he basically says no. Go get my medicine. Manon does that. He opens up the chamber, puts away his gun, and says, fine, if you want to fight, we'll have a fight. You get this really cool shot of him ripping off his jacket, and as he's being raised up, if I can get raised up by Royal Gundam, declaring the fight and heading over to, I believe that's London Bridge. I believe. Don't quote me on that. The fight begins. They suit up like they always do. And then as they go flying towards each other, the old champion battling our new young hero. Match begins. We get Rain waking up in this control room where Manon is. And to modern audiences, a lot of what is said next would be considered uber feminist woke trash. But there's a catch to it at the very end. In here, Manon tells Rain that basically, hey, you know our secret, so we can't let you go. But as of right now, I've been cheating we've been cheating. We've been releasing Fog and the troopers. So yeah. Rain tells him. Rain says, well, what does Chapman really think of this? And Manon says, oh, Chapman doesn't know. So Manon's been cheating for Chapman. We get back over to the main fight. Domon and Chapman are fighting pretty fairly. It's kind of evened. Domon knocks Chapman down, and then the fog. Manon activates the fog and sends out the troopers. And with that, the field becomes covered, and it actually interferes with all of Domon's sensors. He can't see through his cameras. He can't see infrared or any of those other things. He cannot see. Like, he's basically blind. Excuse me. Rain then, and Domon's kind of freaking out. You see the troopers come in. Rain then says, why are you doing this? And Manon begins talking about how Chapman's this mighty warrior, this mighty hero, and that all he wants to do is fight. And through the years of all this of smelling nothing but gun smoke and all that stuff, Chapman wants to end everything on the battlefield. He either wants to end a champion or just end it all on the battlefield as a true warrior, because he is a true warrior. And we start cutting back and forth between their conversation. I think we go back one more time. Yeah. And on the battlefield, Domon is moving around. You get this shot of Chapman is just shoveling pills into his mouth now, like just handfuls of pills at a time, trying to stay cognizant. And he starts yelling at Domon, "You call yourself a true warrior? Now that you can't see me, you think you can actually win?" And Domon is trying to figure out how to see him because he can't. He says, "I'll figure this out." Begins becoming approached from behind by one of the drones. Domon jumps up and attacks him, thinking that he attacked Royal Gundam, but realizes it was just one of the drones. Domon then tells him to come out, has 3 new drones approach him, and he says, "If you're going to send an army at me, then I'm going to take them all head on before I approach you." Domon just strikes all 3 of those drones down, starts becoming cornered by more and more drones. Well, he then turns around and sees Royal Gundam come out, and Chapman takes perfect aim at Domon and fires upon Domon, knocking him down to the ground. We get a shot of Domon then trying to escape more of the gunfire. And we cut back to the main room. And I'm trying to do this right because there's things that happen. And you probably just saw it on my screen, but I'm trying to mark everything down right. Back in the main room, Mana says, he continues on with, hey, he wants to die on the battlefield. And men are extremely selfish creatures that just think about themselves and nothing more, and they want this glory and all this honor. And she's telling this to Rain, and then she says, "That's also why I want to be with him, and that's why I want to support him." Wow. From this kind of ragging on men speech, because when you watch this, there's a lot of, hey, men are selfish, men are prideful, men want to fight, men are fighters, men are this, men are that. To wrap that up with, and that's why I want to stand beside him in his final moments because I love him. That's not something we get in modern Hollywood anymore. A woman who can take note of many of the flaws of the opposite sex, but still say, hey, I love him and I want to stand by him because I think he's a wonderful person. And that touches Rain. We get back to the battlefield and we see Domon's still running from all the fire. You get a shot of a drone about to take aim at Domon, and it gets shot out, and you get George there to save the day. Not really. George tells Domon that he'll take care of all the little guys. We have to quickly get to Chapman in this because Chapman needs help now before it's too late. And we get back to Chapman. If I can get the shot just right, because it is... He's struggling, and I can't get it, but he takes more pills. Like, he's, again, shoveling more pills in. Because the effects of the pills are dwindling. Time's running out. Now we get to that moment where I mentioned before with George, that I forgot to mention, but I brought back up, with Chapman being a beast. Yeah, this is it. Chapman and Domon begin basically pushing each Chapman begins antagonizing Domon, telling him to hurry up. Just come on here. Fight me. Come at me. Shoveling pills in, just saying, let's do this. I'll take you out. I'll kill you. I'll end this. I'll be the victorious one. I'll do this. I don't quite remember what happens here. You get Rain basically... I want to say Rain's basically pleading with Mana to end this because time's running out. It can't be good. And Mana says no, he wants to end it on the battlefield. Domon then begins to rush towards... oh, God, I have Gundam. Rush towards Chapman as Chapman keeps firing upon him and popping them pills. Just constantly firing. Knocks Domon down after knocking out a sword. Gets right there, ready to end Domon, and he says, you become disqualified if I shoot off your head. What? You're too weak? You can't fight me? You can't become the next hero? You can't become the next champion? And in all this bolster, the pills begin to wear off again. And in that moment, he starts screaming, he starts panicking, and he starts looking upon Domon, telling Domon to hurry up and do it. Hurry up and finish me off. What are you, a hero? You're no hero. Finish me off. What are you doing there? Just finish me off. As he's basically breaking down, yelling at Domon to just hurry up and end it. If you're a true hero, you'll end it. And Domon does just that. Blowing off the head with shining finger. Mano watches it. Rain watches it. Everybody watches it as it all falls up, goes down, and Chapman thanks him. Says that's it. That's a good... You're becoming a true hero. You're becoming a true champion and a true warrior. And Chapman falls to the ground, and we cut back. Everybody's out of their cockpits. Mana's there with Chapman, and Chapman then looks upon Mana and tells her, I don't think we're going to be able to make it to Mars. Mana says, I know, dear. I know. As Chapman reaches up to wipe away a tear, says, hey, this is what I wanted. Mana basically tells him, I know. And we are led to believe, because we don't see his face, that Chapman passes away. We're led to believe that Chapman has passed away. And Mana looks back at Domon and Rain and says, "This is what's at the end of the path of the warrior. Essentially, death. And fighting will only lead you to this point." And Rain and Domon look worried as the episode ends with everybody there just looking upon what happened and the aftermath. And that is that. And with that, we come to the end of this episode and the end of this review. And immediately it makes you ponder the realities of life, the realities of these paths that we take, what's truly at the end of them. And is it sometimes worth it? But only time will tell, and only you can be the judge of your own life. But with that, guys, we come to the end of the episode. Next week will be episode 10. I'm looking at the numbers. There's 49 episodes in total of all of Gundam G, so this is going to be a long one. But I'm enjoying making these, and I find them fascinating. So, with that, guys, leave your thoughts on this episode and some of the messaging that you're getting from these shows. And also, if you've watched these shows yet, I highly suggest it. Watch along. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it out to your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video and go live. I finally made it. Last I checked now is 103. So this Saturday, the 29th, Saturday night, I'm going to do a special 100 sub celebration stream. I'll just play Yu-Gi-Oh, but I want to interact with the chat. I'll throw up Yu-Gi-Oh, that way I have something to play and interact with you guys, and something you guys can watch and just chat. We'll have fun. We'll do something fun for a little while. Not a long string, but something to celebrate you guys and for me to tell you how much I appreciate you guys for subbing to me. And with that, guys, see you on the next one. Bye for now.